Chapter 21 is the verdict, and I would say that we are very close to the top of this climax right here, if not at the very top, because the verdict is announced, and this is what makes the story so great. It is not fiction and ends with the perfect happy ending. Of course, this is a real life story that it's based on, and it is very important that we understand that these things happened in history so we don't repeat them. But anyway, the chapter starts off with Calpurnia passing a note to Atticus, and she basically, he reads it and says, hey, this has nothing to do with the trial, but my kids are missing. And can I go, find out what's going on? And Mr. Underwood says, oh, no, I know where they are. They are up in the balcony with the colored folks. Please take a look yourself, and they've been there since 1:18 p.m. And so Atticus tells Jim to come down from there, and Jim's excited, and he says, we have won this trial, haven't we? And Atticus says, I am not sure. I have no idea. And so Jim pleads with his dad and says, please let us come back for the verdict, and we want to hear it. We've been here this long. And he says, well, I guess you've heard it all already, so you might as well hear the end of it. He goes, but first you need to eat your supper. So the kids go home with Calpurnia, and Scout prays that Reverend Sykes saves their seats so they can have somewhere to sit, and they like sitting there, obviously. And so Calpurnia is angry when she gets there. She says, she's going to give them a whooping, and they should know better. And when Aunt Alexandra hears about this, she's basically going to have a stroke, which is kind of funny. And they walk home, and Jim asks Calpurnia if she wants to hear about it, and she says absolutely not. You should be hanging your head in shame and be ashamed of yourself. And then she tells Dill to call Miss Rachel and tell her where he is. And then eventually she says, eat slow, take your time, because the verdict's probably going to take a while. And so when they get back, Reverend Sykes had saved their seats for them, so they're happy about that. And nothing's happened. Nobody's moved. It's getting late. It's like 8 o'clock. And, Jim's really excited. He's like, I don't see how anyone could convict Tom with what we've heard. No jury could make that conviction. So he thinks that his dad has it in the bag. Reverend Sykes says, please don't be so confident, Jim. And he's trying to be realistic. So it just shows that, kids are a little different in their thinking, that they have no boundaries, and adults really like to think more realistically and don't want to get their hopes up. So Reverend Sykes says that it's not a good thing for Miss Jean Louise, Scout, to be watching and to be hearing. And he goes, oh, she doesn't understand what's going on. And then she stands up and she goes, I certainly do. I understand it just as good as you, Jim. And so that's always talking about stereotypes, right, for girls and young people and kids, that they don't understand things. And it's about 8 o'clock. And so they're just chatting, and eventually they're getting tired and people are falling asleep, and the big clock bangs 11 times. So it's 11 o'clock at night, and Scout asks if it's been a long time, and of course Jim says yes it has, and he's excited about it because he thinks that's a good thing. And then eventually Mr. Tate says the court will come back to order, and Scout knows because her father is a lawyer and she says a jury never looks at its defendant when it comes back in if they've convicted it, and not one of the jury come in and look at Tom Robinson. So she's already feeling really bad about this, and of course she's looking over at her brother Jim, and he's all excited. He's like, yes, we got this. He's got his hand on the rail and he's looking, he can't wait. Scout closes her eyes, and Judge Taylor polls the jury, and she gets a guilty, 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 guilty. And so she finally peeks at Jim, opens her eyes, and his hands are white from gripping the railing. He's white knuckles. And so, and every time there was a guilty, it looked like he was getting shot in the chest. Like she could see that he took a beating each time, like literally. And at the end, once that's over, Atticus puts his hand on Tom Robinson's shoulder, and he whispers something into his ear. And then Atticus leaves by a different exit than he normally leaves. And so Scout just kind of writes it off, saying, maybe he just wanted to get home really quickly. And so she looks around finally, because Reverend Sykes says her name, and they're all standing. All the people in the colored balcony are standing. And he looks up and he talks to her and he says, Miss Jean Louise, stand up. Your father is walking by. And so that just really shows that they respect Atticus. They're not mad at him. He did the best that he could, and it wasn't his fault, even though the outcome was very terrible for Tom Robinson.